I am so unbelievably tired right now. I was helping out at an event a couple hours away over the past few days, and I literally got like 2.5 hours of sleep the night before last, and I just now got to catch up on some of the sleep I've been missing last night, and I'm still not doing so hot. It's almost 6 o'clock. I really have not started videos this late in a very long time. Most of the time I film in the morning or early afternoon, so that should say enough on its own. But before we get started, let's go ahead and buy like a 12-pack of Red Bull and drink all of it right now. No, we're not gonna do that, but we are gonna get something to help ourselves recover some energy that's been lost in the void over the past few days. And then we're gonna go ahead and replace the alternator on the Mustang. And before we go ahead and get something to hopefully give me some perception of having energy, let's go ahead and unbox the part that we got for the Mustang, which is the alternator. I don't know why I said the part. It came from good old Rock Auto because, I don't know, it's cheap. I always use Rock Auto for like any parts that aren't performance parts. Really thought I had a razor blade sitting out somewhere. Oh, I do. Hey, there we go. Perfection. I don't have a good table to do this, so yes, I did just cut right towards myself, which is always a smart decision, as they tell you in school. And yes, I was homeschooled, for any of those of you who are wondering. Okay, this is our professional series premium remanufactured alternator. So let's go ahead and pop this open and see how premium and remanufactured we're talking about. How does this box open? Here we go, replacement alternator. Seems simple enough. So let's make Chris Fix proud. So out with the old and in with the new. But yeah, I mean, that's an alternator. I don't really have much else to say. Let's go ahead and buy some liquid energy if we, okay. Also, got the Rock Auto magnet. This one's a pretty sick looking, I was about to say Magnum. I have no idea why. Javelin is the word I was looking for. I actually really love Javelins. They're one of my favorite classic muscle cars. So I don't know, a future build for the channel, maybe. Probably not, I don't know, we'll see. Put that right below the, what is that, a Ford Country Squire? I think is the other magnet I have on here if I'm not mistaken. And arguably more importantly, first of all, I just want to say, this box fills me with confidence. But arguably more importantly, but really not, because that's an alternator and you know the car doesn't really run without it, at least not for very long. But in this box, we got wiper blades, and the wiper blades that are on it are actually really expensive. They're Rain-X wiper blades, and as much as I like Rain-X, like detail products and washer fluid or whatever, I have never, ever been happy with Rain-X wiper blades that I've bought. And Ford's used the stupid, like whatever, I-hook, I think it's called. So not that many wiper blades come in that style. And the ones that do are normally really expensive because the mass-produced ones are made for more common styles like a J-hook. And so I've gotten wiper blades for my wife's car a couple times that have both been Rain-X because it's available, and on my Mustang, and they don't last long and they don't work super great. Literally, I put them on my Mustang, and before you ask, no, I didn't damage them or something when I was doing that, but I put them on my Mustang on the way home from buying it because I bought it a couple hours away up in Chicago area, and literally, the wiper blades left streaks immediately after putting them on the car. Oh no, do I have another magnet in here? These are the important questions that get asked on the Colton Does Cars channel. Oh, actually, that's really cool. You don't see that many things like this from like the Rock Auto stickers, but this is like an R31 Skyline, if it'll focus on that. That's actually a really cool one. I will gladly slap that on my toolbox. So let's go get some coffee. Or some other mysterious energy liquid. Alright, I'm back. And here is what I've got. I got some Red Bull, and also some Red Bull, and also some Red Bull, and also some green tea, and also this magazine that has my name on it for some reason. This green tea is really hitting the spot right now. Alright, so we've also had this battery charger on the Mustang for the past little while just to charge the battery back up, because when the alternator went out, it totally killed the battery, which is Not very surprising, so we can go ahead and take this off now so it's out of our way. And like I said, I did already take the alternator out, but I will show you how I did that, just in case anyone is going to use this as sort of a how-to. It's real easy. It's not as bad as it looks like it would be in video or pictures. So let me go ahead and show you exactly where it was and how I did this. So the alternator is mounted from this bolt right here, and there's another bolt that goes through the alternator itself to this little hole right here. It wants to focus on my hand, but hopefully you'll be able to see where that is. Come on, camera, you can do this. There we go. Now this tensioner pulley is also going to be right down there. You can sort of see where that is mounted right there. Underneath this pulley right here, there is another bolt hole down there, which if I can get the camera to focus on that, you can see where that is right down there. That is where this tensioner pulley is mounted, and the belt is around it. You can just take the tension by turning this from this bolt on the pulley to release the belt tension off of the pulley and the alternator. And then it's just one, I believe it's a 13 millimeter bolt on the pulley itself to get it out of there, and that'll get everything out of your way for the alternator itself. Obviously, as you can see, you do have to take the intake out as well, and there are two small connections that are on the alternator over here. One is for the ground, which is this one right here. This doesn't pull up very far, so unfortunately I can't show it super well, but there's a ground connection there that has a bolt on it, which I think is a 10 mil. And there is one connection on the alternator. There's a tab on the inside, which is very, very annoying to try to get off, but as long as you're not tugging on these super bad, you can unbolt the alternator first and sort of move it into a position where you can unplug that easier. Most videos do not show people doing that of this install. If you look for them or articles or whatever, I get people are worried about tugging on the wires, but as long as you are gentle with how much you are prying on the wires, you should be fine. Nothing I did really put any tension on the wires in the first place. And then you should be able to get that clip off of the alternator a lot easier than you would otherwise. And one last thing I was gonna mention, obviously you can see here that I do have a 3-pound sledge and various pry bars out here, because the alternator will more than likely be slightly seized in place. Once you get this bolt out of here and you take the nut off of that stud where it's mounted onto, it will most likely be pretty stuck in place. So what I did is I reached down here and tapped the alternator itself, because I'm replacing it, with the pry bar, and tapped the end of it with the 3-pound sledge and just rotated it this direction. Once you get it freed from that mount point right there, it should be pretty easy to pull it off, and then with a little bit of finagling, you can get it out of here, and it's not too bad. Hopefully that was well explained enough to get the point across. Now we can go ahead and get that new alternator in there. It's just a reversal of the process, and it should not be too difficult to do so. So I'm gonna see if there's any place where I can put this on the car to show what I'm doing more so. Otherwise, this might be the angle that you're seeing it from. My apologies. I still need to upgrade my video equipment so that I can get things positioned a little bit better for different shots. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on with that shot. First things first, I suppose, let's just get the alternator slid in here. So we'll just try to get it past the fan shroud and this radiator hose, which, like I said, just requires a little bit of finagling. It's not too difficult. I saw a lot of people complaining about it when I looked this up, articles and stuff like that, before I did it, to make sure there was nothing that I was gonna miss before I just started doing it. A lot of people were complaining about how difficult it is to get the radiator out once it's disconnected. I don't really think that it's that hard, personally. Getting around the radiator hose, like I'm doing right now to get it in here, is a little bit annoying, but it's really not that bad. Okay, that is basically that. So we'll get that first bolt. This is the bolt for the left side. It is pretty long, and it's pretty easy to get in there if you remove the tensioner, and it threads at the back of the alternator. So it goes through the hole on the front, through basically a tab on the engine block, and then threads into the back of the alternator itself. So that's on there hand tight. So let's go ahead and get the bolt for the other side here, which I assume, which is always super safe to do, is this one right here. Yep, that would be it. You know, I'm really dumb. I have magnetic trays. I should really take those out here and put the hardware in them. That would probably be smarter. All right, let's get down there and move the sound tube. Yes, it is a sound tube. Person who insisted that it was the PCV hose. No, it's not. And this one, I think, is the same size, also a 15. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and slide the connectors onto the alternator over here now that it's mounted. I apologize that I can't really show this process while I'm doing it. I kind of need to have a good line of sight as I'm doing it, and also I don't really know how I would film it if I'm being 100% honest. And I'll go ahead and put this nut for the ground on the alternator back on. I think I said originally that I thought it was a 10 mil. I must not have been thinking of the same thing. This is definitely like a 13. It's a 13 or a ½ inch. It's probably actually a ½ inch, which, yes, there is a difference, people. There's plenty of bolts you can slide onto with a ½ inch wrench that will be tighter and better fitting than with a 13, but they are very close in size. Okay, we'll slide that cover back on there, and that is it installed in place. One thing I also would recommend doing that I literally, only reason why I did not, but at this point I've done all of the wiring connections so it doesn't really matter, is when doing anything with the electrical system, disconnecting your negative terminal is a good idea. I wouldn't say it's strictly necessary, but just something to note that is probably a good idea. I just didn't because I forgot. So if you're about to do this job, maybe don't forget. Well, I suppose we can go ahead and get the tensioner put back on here. There is a little tab on the back of it, it looks like, that should kind of locate it in position. As you can see there, just that shallow little tab right there. This bolt goes right through, and I mean, it's pretty difficult to mess up the installation of this. Now I will say I don't have any specific torque specs for any of this stuff. I'm just torquing it by feel and making sure I'm not overdoing it, and that extension still isn't fitting. I'm not sure why I tried that again, but you know, just making sure that I'm not ridiculously over torquing things and pulling the threads right out or something stupid. Just making sure that things are snug enough to hold everything in place thoroughly. And if you do any job like this, it's a good idea to come back later on pretty much anything you do and just make sure that your work is still staying tight. So as long as you're doing that, you should probably be fine. Also worth noting that a lot of this is bolting straight into tabs that are connected to the block, and the block is aluminum, so it's a good idea to try to be extra careful with aluminum because it is easier to strip out the threads in aluminum than like cast iron or something like that. All right, well, I think we are ready to get the belt put back on this thing and just make sure that we have it going through everything it's supposed to. Another thing that I did was take a picture of the belt routing before I started this job, just to be sure that I would put it back correctly. You can also do that, but if you would not like to, I will also show you the routing of the belt here in a second when I get the belt back on, so you should not have to worry about that. All right, so I got the belt routed, so I'm just gonna put the socket on the tensioner so that I can slip the belt back onto the alternator. If you have another person to help you, this is even easier because you don't have to do each thing with one hand. But even alone, it's not too bad. I think that's on there correctly. Let me double check that nothing's contacting with anything else. All right, well, hopefully I can show this fairly effectively. And if you cannot see what exactly the belt is doing there, I'll put up a diagram as well. It's really not that complicated. Hopefully this is enough where you can see everything. If you look at the way that a belt is routed and which pulleys have ribs in them and which one of them are flat, it's normally pretty simple to figure out how a belt is routed in general. All right, so now that that is done, all we really have to do is basically reassemble a couple things that need to go back on the car, and that should basically be it. We have to put the intake back on, which we have out as one piece, so that should be pretty easy. And otherwise, basically put this like radiator core shroud piece of plastic, I forgot what you would really call this, back on. That should be super easy. Let's go ahead and pop on our BBK coldish air intake and see if the car starts up and doesn't explode. Okay, hands are dirty, forehead is sweaty, Mustang is reassembled. All of these points point us in the direction of sure success. So let's see if the Mustang will start. But first, let's open the garage door so we don't suffocate ourselves to death. I'm hyped up, so time for a Red Bull of anticipation. Hype. All right, well, here goes. Let's see if anything happens. I believe the battery's charged enough. If not, we can put it back on the charger and put it on the jump setting. I mean, it seems like it has batteries, so let's see. It went right onto AM radio and started blaring radio static. That freaked me out. We're good! Yay! I just checked over everything under the hood. It all looks good. Nothing smells like an electrical fire. I'll go wash my hands and then we'll take this thing on a quick drive. I also had the data log file all loaded up as I was starting it just to make sure the voltage looked good. It's reading in the middle high 14s. That's exactly where it should be. So I think we're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and take it for a drive and see how it does. Well, I'm gonna roll up the window so you can actually hear me. Oh no. Passenger window does this really dumb thing where it won't roll all the way up unless I do it in really slow increments. I don't know when that started, but everything seems really, really good so far. I'm very happy with the car and driving it again. It's been, I mean, I don't know, now close to a couple weeks since I've driven it, which is not like crazy or anything, but I just love driving this car and I am super excited to be back in it again. We're gonna do a nice pull up here. I'm gonna pull onto the interstate. With me living kind of like in the middle of town now, I'm not like super close to a lot of great spots to do hard pulls. So you'll hear me say in in-car footage that I'm gonna pull onto the interstate pretty often. That would be why. But yeah, I had the data log file pulled up and everything on the RevX tuner for the majority of this drive, and everything seems to be reading really, really good with the revision to the Bama tune. We still do have the like hesitation with downshifts. Right now, I don't know for what specific reason, but when I'm downshifting, instead of just having hesitation, it's having a little bit more of like a backfire than normal. But it's literally such a small thing. Just having the car running and idling good in comparison to where it was before makes me really, really happy. So I will gladly take, for the time being, the little bit of hesitation to have an overall really good running car. And I totally forgot that is the opening of the seat is still open right there. That's funny. So you might hear more road noise than normal, but you might also hear more exhaust. I need to shut that evidently. Unfortunately, I am behind presumably an old man in a Cadillac by how slow they're driving. That might just be being ageist or something. I don't know. I don't have a problem with old men. Go down in a second. Maybe we can change lanes. Oh yeah, we got enough space. All right, here we go. Oh, it feels so good. I haven't driven this car in so long. I love this thing so much, dude. It's I've really enjoyed all of the cars that I've owned, but this one, the feeling of acceleration is so exhilarating. It's good stuff, man. It's good. I like very, very much. So we'll go ahead and drive back home and close off the video in the garage as normal. Well, that was a successful drive. We no longer have the Mustang screaming at me about its voltage. It's doing so good, and I am so pumped about having this car up and running again. I mean, you know how it is if you have a car that you really care about that breaks and you get to drive it again, or maybe you've just been busy and you haven't been using it for whatever reason, and you start to drive it more often again, and it's like, oh, I miss this so much. I mean, this is like genuine happiness. I just love this car. It's really awesome. I know that Mustangs have a stigma of being like common and overrated and lame, and I honestly kind of went along with that not that long ago, but now that I have this car, I have to say, there's a reason they're popular, and it is just such a fun car. Now let's do, again, arguably the most important thing, and swap out these stupid wiper blades before we close out the video. I was watching an older Robbie Ferreira video. He was saying, he's like, man, why do I feel like wiper blades defeat me so much? It's so true though. I cannot remember for the life of me how these ones work. And again, for like wiper blades that literally were brand new and not cheap, I just do not like the Rain-X wiper blades. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just the cars that they go on are typically harder on wiper blades or something, and they just go out faster. I don't know, but these particular ones, for being like whatever they are, $22 a piece or something ridiculous, they're not that good. I don't know if I want to mention how long it took me to figure these out. I really don't, but the new ones, that is. The way that they clip on doesn't seem like remarkably sturdy, but I guess it's just because they're basically held in place when they're held against the windshield. I mean, there's not really a way for them to fall out moving this direction, but still, it seemed a little disconcerting, so I wanted to make sure I was doing it correctly. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. The Mustang is now back up and running, and most importantly, has some beautiful new wiper blades on it, if you know what I'm saying. I feel like you probably did know what I was saying until I chose to do that, and now you might be confused, but we got wiper blades, the car's running, everything's good, everyone's happy. But if you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The channel's doing pretty well and growing fairly quickly as of late, and I'm super appreciative of that. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We're already pretty dang close to that goal. Let me check, because every single time one of these videos goes up, because I have been filming them a few days more in advance than normal, the numbers that I've given out for how close we are have been wildly inaccurate by the time the video goes up, but it looks like right now, if I check here on my mobile device, currently the channel is at 874 subscribers, so we only need 126 subscribers to hit that goal by the end of the year. I'm sure we'll make it, so thank you guys so much for the support, and if you really enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video as well. That also really helps out the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, hands or door head? I have no idea what sort of stroke just happened.